Welcome to the Precinct and the Practice, where the conversation is free, but this talk ain't cheap. Broadcasting from a studio in the North CTE Law and Public Safety Center and streaming on MPS Voices. I'm your host, Miss Alexis Love. Consider this your first warning. We're going in. Well, welcome back to the Precinct and the Practice. I'm your host, Miss Alexis Love, and we're coming to you from the new studio at North Community High's Career and Technical Education Center. Now, in Greek mythology, Icarus was warned not to fly too close to the sun. But in the real world, the Minneapolis-St. Airport is a city within a city where thousands of people fly every day and where the law has to be just as mobile as the passengers. So today we're looking at what happens when the practice of law enforcement hits the tarmac. We're joined by Detective Anne Katchmark of the Airport Police Operations, and she works at the intersection of local safety and federal security. Am I correct on that?
That's right.
And Detective, thank you for being at the North Side today. And to start, most people think of the airport as just a place to catch a flight. But in your world as a detective, how would you describe the precinct that is MSP?
First of all, thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
The Airport Police Department is a super unique jurisdiction because we don't have residents who live in houses, right? We have employees and people who work for airlines, our police department, other departments within the Metropolitan Airports Commission. We have restaurant workers and cleaners. All these are what you would think of as our residents.
Okay.
Those are people we see every day, and we get to know them. That's our community, but it also includes our passengers who are different every single day. You know, you have some frequent flyers that are, very familiar with the airport, and you might recognize some of them, but by and large, our population changes every single day.
Good. Way to go. Who's taking number one?
Okay, so a question I have for you today is, do you have family roots in North Minneapolis? And if so, high-stress environment like the airport where people are from all over the world, how would the North Side perspective help de-escalate situations or read people better?
Yeah, I don't have any family from the North Side, but, I've had friends. As a teenager, I spent time on the North Side, and I currently live in St. Paul. I've lived in St. Paul for 11 years now. Okay. So, when I think about North Minneapolis, I think of a super tight-knit community that's proud of where they're from, people that look out for each other and want to support each other and grow together. So when I think about our population at the airport, all the passengers coming through from all over the world, I think that perspective of community and closeness and support plays a big role in how we interact with other people, right? Mm-hmm. We want to get along, trying to find common ground, understand that people have different communication styles, and you just got to meet them where they're at, Mm-hmm.
Mm. So that second part of that question, that was a good one. How would your perspective of where you live, how does it help you de-escalate situations and to read people?
Yeah, absolutely. When you live in a community where it's full of people who are from different areas or have different communication styles, you kind of learn to read people and learn how to match people and meet them where they're at. And so I think taking that perspective and using it to de-escalate situations and, like I said before, meet people where they're at, find that common ground where you can agree or at least meet each other.
Okay. Well, so the airport's a public space. Okay, I'm having technical difficulties with my head. Okay. So since the airport's a public space managed by the Minnesota Airport Commission, the MAC, What's the one thing Minneapolis residents should know about their rights versus like security requirements when they're on the airport grounds?
Yeah, your rights at the airport are the same as if you're anywhere else.
Okay.
I would say the difference to be mindful of are the security requirements that you have to abide by when you're going through security or when you're at the airport. So yes, it's a public space, but you can't just go through any door you see, right?
Okay.
And all your things are going to get searched because at the end of all this, you're going to get on a plane with a bunch of other people, and those guidelines are there to keep us all safe, you know? And so you're willingly kind of putting your belongings and yourself through the screening process, not giving up any rights, but understanding that this process is essential to keep us all safe.
Excellent. I get that.
Okay, so detective, in human trafficking cases, the victim often doesn't look like a prisoner. They look like a normal traveler. What is one subtitle behavior, cue, or red flag that your team looks for that civilian would never notice?
You're so right that victims oftentimes don't look like victims, right? They look like normal people walking through the airport. They might even be alone. They might not be with a trafficker, but they still can be trafficked. So I think the biggest, the thing I tell employees at the airport when we do trainings is to listen to your gut instinct. So imagine a ticket agent at the ticketing level behind the counter at the airport. She's checking people in for their flights, getting bags checked, and she might have like this playlist on shuffle of a few different things that she asks people, right? Like, oh, are you traveling for business or pleasure? Are you going somewhere warmer than here in Minnesota? When are you coming back? And with those questions come a variety of answers, but they're all, somewhat the same or somewhat usual, and you get used to those responses. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's people who don't have answers or are hesitant to answer questions, or maybe their answers don't make sense. And that's a cue. That's a cue that we want employees to look for. And there could be an answer for things like that, right? Someone doesn't want to talk, someone's tired, they're shy. But that coupled with things like not having your own identification on you, or not dressed for the weather, not packed for the trip that you're about to go on, and even just maybe no knowledge, really, it seems, of where you're going or what your itinerary is. So all these little things kind of add up and should be telling their gut instinct that something's a little off here. That's what we want them to report to us.
That's good. I used to work for Sun Country for a little bit, just as part-time. And I remember talking to some of the detectives there, because I'm really fascinated by that kind of stuff. And just what you said is very key, like how much we encounter the strange. It's like around someone it's like a different air around them. Their ambiance, the aura that they carry is something's really off, and you can't quite put your finger on it. You just know as soon as they walked up. There's even the perpetrator, or that's not the victim, is off, and then the victim's off. It's something you feel, and you can't quite put it into words, and you should always report that. I kind of learned that. So, and it's also the same with their luggage when there's something, we'll get into that too, but when they're transporting things in luggage, there's something off. And so I can't wait for you to talk about that, but I'll let Muhammad go. I thought that was really good.
So we know that the Minneapolis-St. Airport is a major hub for Delta. How does our geographic location as a connector between the coasts change the way you track narcotics compared to a street detective in the 4th Precinct?
Yeah, it's a lot different. When you think about Minneapolis PD, engaging in these investigations, maybe they'll focus on someone who they know has a history of dealing narcotics or drug use or whatever it is, right? And they know this person, they've followed them, or they're, maybe they're investigating them for something. So there's also maybe houses that they'll pay more attention to because they're known to traffic drugs out of there, or they've gotten a lot of complaints from neighbors that random people keep coming by just for a couple minutes at a time and then leaving again, and they suspect that people are dealing drugs out of the house, right? So with us at the airport, because people are just traveling through so quickly, we kind of just have to look at trends and patterns and the big picture. So we know source states like California, for example, that a lot of drugs are coming from, and our detectives in our narcotics division just have to, keep on top of those trends, see when things are changing, what drugs are more popular when, how people are moving, how they're communicating, who they're traveling with. And they also have an analyst that helps them with all this information. But really that's what we're looking at the airport, is the big picture.
Okay.
Okay. How has the shift from cash to crypto and encrypted apps changed the way you track mules or traffickers through the terminal?
Before you answer that, just in case people don't know.
Okay.
A mule is an individual who smuggles illegal drugs across borders or through checkpoints for traffickers, either by carrying them in their luggage, on their body, or there's such a thing as swallowing, like body packing, right? And so that's what Google says anyway. They're often tricked, coerced, or paid to act as a human courier. So that's a mule, in case someone in the audience doesn't know. Go ahead.
Yeah. When we do see a decrease in the presence of cash, that physical evidence, you have to pivot and find other ways to investigate this. And you're right that encrypted apps or cryptocurrency is a lot harder to track and sometimes even impossible, right? So instead, kind of what I said before is we rely on trends. Money, technology changes, but people's behavior doesn't. The patterns that they have without even realizing it, those don't change.
That's why it pays to be honest. Who's next?
You.
Oh. Okay. Ooh, the thin blue line at 30,000 feet. So we've seen a rise in air rage, right? And incidents that show on the news or in social media nationally. And at the airport, there's a zero tolerance policy for violence. I've seen that in action before. So can you explain the legal shift that happens, like the moment the passenger steps across the jet bridge? Like, does the law actually change when the plane door closes, or what's the difference?
Sure. The same laws are still in place in the airport as the state of Minnesota, for example, and even on the jet bridge. When you get to that plane door and you get on the flight, I would say the big change happens when the aircraft doors close. Mm-hmm. And then from there until when you get to your destination and the aircraft doors open. All of that happens in between is, federally recognized as, God, I can't even think of the term right now, but, anything that happens in the aircraft during that flight is all federal jurisdiction. So if, let's say there's a fight happening on a flight and it's inbound to MSP, airport police would still respond. So there's federal jurisdiction there, but we're going to meet the flight at the gate and get everyone off the plane, deal with the people involved, get names, witness names, interview everyone, see what happened, and find out maybe who the aggressor was, if there was one, and talk to the flight crew, get all the pertinent information. And then we contact the FBI There's even, FBI stationed at the airport often. So we have a close relationship with them. We'll give them all the important information, and then they carry the investigation forward, and those get charged federally. And so there's certainly like different laws that are federal regulations as far as like you can't smoke on a flight, right? No smoking.
No
or vaping. Exactly, right. So there's things like that. Interference with a flight crew, that's another law. So yeah, but like I said, a lot of it has to do with the moment the door closes, the flight happens, and then the door opens on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for students who might be traveling for the first time without parents, what is the most common innocent mistakes that young people make at security that can accidentally lead to a legal situation?
Yeah, it's super overwhelming at the airport, right? There's a million signs, and I know sometimes we'll just say like, hey, the bathroom sign's right there, but there's 10 other signs that say baggage claim, ticketing, gates C through E, gates G, right? And so I feel like people get overwhelmed and miss things. There's also a bunch of signs of directions, what to do, what not to do. And unfortunately, one of the biggest mistakes I see is something as simple as going through a door that you're not supposed to, even if it says do not enter in all bold letters, red and white text. And somehow people, I don't know. I think they get stressed out. Maybe they're late. Maybe they're going to a funeral or a family reunion and they don't want to see their cousin or whatever, right? So people are just stressed. They're thinking about other things, and they make mistakes. At the airport, we as the police department understand that. A lot of these mistakes, for the most part, are end up being harmless, right? It's a teaching moment, and that's what we try to use it as. We try to guide people. So I would say for a first-time traveler, especially a young person who might be traveling without parents, make sure you have your documents ready ahead of time, including your ID and your plane ticket. When you're packing, look online on TSA guidelines to make sure you don't have too much liquid. You're not bringing batteries or other prohibited items, sharp things, and allow extra time. When you get to the airport, you don't want to be worried about missing your flight or getting to the right spot before it leaves. You want to be able to take your time and get through security without that rush, that rushed feeling.
Yeah. Good question.
So if a student finds himself in an unsafe position while in the air, whether in a unruly passenger or a personal threat, what is one chain of command for reporting that? Do they go to a flight attendant or do they wait for the air marshal?
Flight attendant, for sure. Tell the flight attendant first thing, even if you have to get up and walk over to them to let them know what's going on, especially if you feel unsafe, right? But let's say you're in the window seat and you feel unsafe because of someone that's in the aisle seat. You don't feel like you can get by them. Always, feel free to reach out to an adult nearby too, and have them get the attention of the flight attendant. But the flight crew is, those flight attendants are there for your safety, and they're very well trained on any incident, any situation that could arise during a flight, and they know what to do. They'll help you out.
Does that often happen a lot, like people feeling unsafe on the plane?
I wouldn't say a lot, but every day we get calls of incidents happening on flights. Keep in mind there's hundreds of flights every day, but yeah, we'll get alerted. Then we'll get a call that, hey, there's this inbound flight 10 minutes out. Passenger reported that someone inappropriately touched them, right? And if anything like that happens, or if someone makes comments that make you feel unsafe, always tell the flight attendant, and they know exactly what to do. They have the ability to talk to the pilot and the control tower wherever the flight is going to land, and they'll all take care of the situation.
They really will too. That's good. Well, so now we're on this career pathways portion. And I know that many of our seniors are looking at the next step, right? So I have juniors in the room with us now. But for seniors, so I know that the MAC offers like a police cadet program. And that actually pays for a student's 2-year law enforcement degree while they work. Now, how early can a high school graduate apply for that? And what are you looking for in a cadet besides just a clean record?
You have to be 18 years old, at least by the time you begin. You need a driver's license. And you have to get that high school diploma or GED equivalent by the time you start, and the ability to enroll in a professional peace officer educational program. And there's a list of them in Minnesota. And you can enroll in a 2 or 4 year program. The airport will pay up to, I think it's $20,000 of that. So it's a really awesome benefit to have. And during that, I feel like I'm answering more than you asked.
That's okay.
But yeah, you get paid like $30 an hour. And during that, you'll be working as a community service officer or a CSO. And those are the people, if you're ever driving through the airport and people are, pushing you through, keep going, keep driving forward. You can't park here. That's part of their job. They direct traffic. They keep things moving. So that's what a cadet does at the airport, as well as helping police officers with different tasks that they need done. And that work as a CSO is kind of molded around your school schedule. So you'll go to, let's say, Hennepin Tech or any school locally and kind of learn how to become a police officer. You go through classes to learn statutes. You shoot firearms. You learn how to drive tactically. And yeah.
That's the course I aced. I have to say.
Which one?
The driving course. I love that course in the academy. That was the most fun. And I remind my kids, because they like to talk about my driving, and I say, hey, this is the course I aced the most.
I always I'm motion sick if I'm in the passenger seat and my coworker's driving. I always get sick and have to step out.
You like to be behind the wheel too.
Yes.
I get it.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. Go ahead.
For students who want to get their feet wet without committing to the academy yet, the airport has the community service officers. Can you explain the practice of a CSO? Is it mostly traffic and security, or do they get to shadow detectives like you and see how the investigations really work?
A lot of it is out on the streets in front of the terminals, directing traffic, especially during those high traffic times, just trying to get everything moving smoothly. It's also, looking for unattended vehicles, unattended luggage, suspicious people, maybe people who are walking in from outside and grabbing bags from the carousel instead of coming from the secure side and like they came in on a flight. That's what you usually would look for. So they're looking for all of those things too. We even have CSOs help us officers book and fingerprint arrestees when we have them. And so I feel like working alongside of us helps them know what to expect and kind of learn the job more intimately. But they definitely get opportunities to ride along with officers. We see them every day. So you get to form relationships with police officers and detectives, and the ones that especially the ones that you think are the type of officer that you want to be, or the ones that you respect or might be a mentor to you. You can pick them and ride along with them, even on shift. Sometimes, as long as the schedule and the traffic load allows for that. But yeah, you can go on ride-alongs, and I even have them sometimes up back in the just seeing how things work, how to put evidence in the lockers, how to do all of that. So there's a lot of opportunities to learn.
Yeah.
In your recruiting videos, there's a big emphasis on personal history for students sitting in this room who want to work for the MAC or MAC.
Mm-hmm.
How do their choices today, specifically regarding social media or juvenile mistakes, affect their ability to get that federal security clearance later?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and a really mature question from a student, right? I wish I had thought about these things when I was younger, because I definitely did not. But yeah, you really have to think about how your behavior is impacting the rest of your life. And, depending on what type of trouble you get in can limit your opportunities later on. Social media has expanded a lot since I was a kid. But you really do have to think that, whatever you're posting, it's there forever. Mm-hmm. Anyone can see it, even if you don't think they can. So with all that being said, the airport police department doesn't expect people to be perfect. I've made mistakes. We all make mistakes. The biggest thing is owning up to that and learning from them. If you can demonstrate that to the department, that makes you a good candidate for us.
Okay, that's good. Well, if a student loves the airport environment, but they don't necessarily want to carry a badge, so what are the other public safety roles within the MAC, and are there paths in emergency communications or aviation security that don't require being a sworn officer?
For sure. That's the really cool thing about the airport is there are a ton of options within kind of the public safety umbrella. So within the police department, we have kind of an administrative level where we have people who are managing evidence, making sure the chain of custody is protected and, evidence is secure, that officers or other people don't have random access to it. So that it upholds in court. There's video surveillance specialists who are watching security cameras at the airport, basically 24/7, and looking for suspicious incidents or suspicious people, but also they'll track incidents as they get reported and officers are headed there. They can give officers a heads up of what the suspect looks like. They can send us pictures of the suspect so we know. They can even track them if the suspect has left the area so that we know where they're going and, we can catch up to them. But another cool thing about the airport is it has a fire department and it has its own dispatch center. So, those are also sectors of the public safety umbrella that a lot of departments also have, but people don't think the airport does,
So those big burns that I've seen at the airport when I thought, oh my God, it's going to be on the news that a plane is burning. It was just the fire department training.
Yep.
And that's really cool. They train right there and they will set fires right at the airport.
It is, yeah. They have an
crazy.
old plane there that they use for training.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Okay. Well, that's going to conclude, unless anyone has any questions burning. That's going to conclude our, pun intended, it's going to conclude our main portion. Now we get to move to our lightning round. So we're going to give you 5 seconds, no more, to answer a question. You just got to go with your gut. You can't think too long. And we're just going to rapid fire some questions at you that are more personal. Okay?
Cool. I like it.
So if you're nervous, great. All right. We didn't choose who's going to go. So let's just go Sanai, Muhammad, me, Sanai, Muhammad, me. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Follow the data or follow your gut?
Gut.
Terminal 1 or Terminal 2?
Terminal 1.
A high-tech digital forensic kit or a simple notepad and pen?
Notepad and pen.
Okay.
Keep it old school.
A high-speed chase or a quiet 4-hour stakeout?
Stakeout.
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 During an interview, are you the good cop or a bad cop?
Good cop. I always get crap about being too nice. There's no such thing. I'm just good cop.
I'm glad we're friends. What's the first thing you notice about a person when they're acting suspicious in an airport?
Hands. Maybe if they're, what they're doing with their hands.
Oh.
We're trained to
Watch the hands.
Yeah, watch the hands.
All right.
Airport terminal food or a packed lunch from home?
Pack lunch from home or a shake from Shake Shack.
Okay. I'll give it to you. That's good.
Or both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cold cases from the past or active cases happening right now?
Active cases.
Mm. Window seat or aisle seat when you're flying off duty?
Aisle seat.
Okay. Me too.
Which is harder, finding a needle in the haystack at the airport or writing the perfect search warrant?
Finding a needle in a haystack.
Well, and then go ahead.
If a North High jersey went missing from the trophy case, who's the first person you're bringing in for questioning?
You.
Good one. In one word, what's the number one trait a student needs to become a detective?
One word. Curious.
Very good. Wow. That's a good. We're done. Like,
That's
that
it,
was
huh?
wonderful.
That wasn't so bad.
It wasn't so bad. Did you have a little bit of fun?
Yeah, I loved it. This was great.
You
It was
have
fun
any
hanging out with
questions
you
for
guys.
us? We'll answer whatever you.
Yeah, I guess I don't really, you and I just met via email a couple months ago, but I don't really know much about this program, the public safety part, department. And yeah, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So, so the Career and Technical Education Center, which is where you are at North High, we have 3. So there's one here, there's one at Edison, and my program used to be over there. And then we also have one at Roosevelt. And we cover, so I'm a law and public safety instructor, and this is my program that I help kids learn about all of the, the law enforcement, the law attorneys, firefighting, everything to do, EMS a little bit, just all of that. I'm certified in as a EMS, I'm certified BLS instructor. So, I help kids get certified in CPR and AED and first aid. So, in this program, and I teach them. I'm trying to learn. Do this podcast it just came about because of Metro Surge, and I'm trying to keep kids in the program. But it's actually like a way to get more of what I'm trying to teach out there. And then we have robotics and drones over here. That is part of the program. We have the broadcast media area where we are right now, which is Peter's program, and we have engineering, we have photography, we have at the other schools we have like a business, we have agriculture, we have automotive and mechanics and welding and all the things that you could think. Healthcare is an amazing program. And so anything that the students, they can even cross programs. Like I have kids that are interested in flying drones, but they don't realize like you could fly drones for an agency and not have to be a sworn officer. You could be an auto mechanic and work, for the city of Minneapolis and work on their police cars, or you could work on the fire trucks. Like you could work at the airport as a mechanic and get paid, right? So I want kids to like understand, to take advantage of this Career and Tech Ed Center, because it's high tech and we have all this cool new equipment for them to play with, try out, test, and get good grades at, and then we can help them slap it on their resume and they can go somewhere and get, so that's what career and technical education is about. It's a newer, this building is new. This part of the building is new, I should say. And let's see, am I missing something, you guys? I'm really excited and passionate.
That's great.
But all the teachers in their pathways are excited and we have Ken, who, like, if you go, I'll take you upstairs if you have time to tour. Everything in his classroom is neon. He is the neon nerd. He's amazing. And he can play video games. They learn how to code things and make video games. And I don't know all the technical terms that you call it because I stick to my lane. But man, if I could do high school all over again, I'd take every one of these pathways. So that's what we're here doing. And we're here to help the students take advantage and get the most for their money, or their most for free, so that so that they can earn as much money as possible, even if they don't go the traditional route into college, right? So that's what we're about.
Yeah, that's awesome to get to experience, kind of what each of these career fields is like, to know whether or not you actually do like it, right? When I graduated high school, first of all, I'd never really thought about my future, what I wanted to do. So I went to college unsure, and I changed my major 5 times. So something like this would be awesome to get that experience. But how about you guys? Do you have an idea of what you want to be when you grow up?
An attorney.
Ooh, sweet.
I want to go into criminal law.
Awesome.
And another thing is, like, we do field trips, like the one when we invited you to Giving Voice conference. So every one of these pathways will take their students on field trips so that they can see things in the world. And last year I took these students to the city hall, and just to kind of, look around and kind of get them out of the building so they could see this stuff in action. I would love to do that again. It's good to it's one thing to kind of be siloed and see it in school every day, all day. But when you go out into the world and you're let into those doors that you've always wondered what's behind that door or what's in that building, and you're in there and you're looking around and you're like, whoa, sweet. And how much do you make? Really? Like, I could be making that, I love when students find out that at 18 they could, if they applied and they were willing to go through training. At 18, some jobs you can start off at $38 an hour. And you don't have to have a degree to get that.
Yep.
So.
Awesome.
So, well, I'm going to let you know that is, I really appreciate you sharing your practice with us today and showing us and our students that the career in public safety can truly make and take you anywhere, even 30,000 feet up in the air. For the law and public safety students here at North Community High, I'm Miss Alexis Love, and that's a wrap on episode 5, which is Grounding the High Flyers. We'll see you next time on The Precinct and The Practice.